And tonight, they're saying you are being accused of creating a hostile work environment. All right, Attorney Redwine, please tell me, what exactly is a hostile work environment?
Absolutely. So a hostile work environment, and I've got this here in front of you because we're going to be very specific. We're going to run it down, okay? Because I'm the queen. I have survived many a hostile work environments. If you've ever worked at a Manhattan law firm, so have you. All right, a hostile work environment is a work environment claim that's a type of workplace discrimination claim. And to establish the claim, you're generally showing you were subjected to unwelcome conduct based on your membership in a protected class. That conduct must be severe and what's called pervasive. And basically, some of the examples would be sexual harassment, threats, bullying, racial slurs, gay slurs. It could also be workplace bullying. And if it's workplace bullying, here are the two most important things you got to show. For workplace bullying, you have to show that the behavior involves or is because of you being in a protected class or having a protected trait. I'm going to explain that. Okay. And that the behavior is either pervasive or severe. It can happen one time if it's severe enough. And a protected class includes your race, your gender identity, or your gender expression, and your sexual orientation, among others.
All right, so this is an expansive type of claim. So there are many ways that she can be attacked as far as what environment did she create. Okay, Attorney Williams, please tell me, how does an employer identify hostile work environment?
So it can be via HR complaints. It can be via if they're watching your email communications, which a lot of companies these days are. A lot of people have Slack, and they think Slack is the more informal way to communicate. Text messages that may be between coworkers. There are a lot of instances that I've seen at different jobs where we've had employees, they may go out to a happy hour, or they may have a wrap party right after a show ends. And they think that they're not in the workplace anymore, but they are. And sometimes someone may overhear something you've said. You could have said something on a recorded phone call. All of those things can get back to the company attorney, and then you're in hot water. I also just want to add, it doesn't have to just be your boss creating the hostile work environment, right? It could be anybody who works at the company. It could be your coworker. It could be the person under you. It's simply someone, like Attorney Redwine said, who is creating a hostile work environment based on your protected class.
That's very interesting. Attorney Ross, you're the criminal attorney here. So how does it happen? How do you create a hostile work environment claim? Is that a criminal case? What is that? How do you bring that forward past HR?
Well, a criminal case in a hostile work environment would be very, very rare. It would have to get to almost sexual harassment. I'm talking like physically touching, right? A battery, a rape, an assault, things of that nature was what you would see that in. But on the civil side, he's alleging that she called him a fat bee because he was eating while filming at the same time, and telling him, Jourdan, telling him that you don't need to eat while filming at the same time. So we're going to assume that Jourdan is laughing at the alleged statement, how preposterous it would be. And so I think that she has a lot of answers to come to. Please do not ignore this lawsuit. You cannot call people fat bees. And there's also an allegation that she was having intercourse in a car, right?
Yeah.
While
with a woman
while he was filming, and he couldn't get out of the car, right? So he had to get out of the car.
He was all by his head. He was doing all this right here.
He was trapped in the car while they were having sex. He couldn't open the door.
The car was moving.
That's hostile. That is pervasive.
Okay, I got it. So, okay. So if I understand you, counselors, you're saying he has more than just one claim, because multiple things have happened. So he can address multiple things that put him or created the hostile work environment. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Correct. Because, for example, a lot of times one of the claims that people may have is you go to HR and you complain, right, about the hostile work environment. That's always step one. Step one is you want to document it.
Right.
What I did when I had my situation is I would be on my work computer and I'd email my personal computer each time I had an incident that occurred. Because one of the things that could happen is that anytime you could get terminated, which could be called retaliation, and you won't have access to your system. But the second thing is you want to make sure you notify HR so that you cannot be retaliated against, or if you are, you have recourse. Retaliation is when your coworkers or perhaps your boss begins to do things to penalize you. It could be taking away a coveted position or role or assignment. You know, if you're a writer, it could be you have an article that's really good, or you have a segment and that gets taken away and reassigned. That could be an example of retaliation. It could be demoting you from one role to another less coveted position. So you have to watch out for those things. And then you have the procedure that's generally done to vindicate or to confirm or deny is you want to request an investigation. Okay.
Wow.
Those are critical. One of the best examples is Real Housewives. Remember when in Real Housewives of New York, Ebony K. Williams made the claims of racism, and that the racism had created a hostile work environment. Once you request an investigation, what happens is they no longer can put you in an environment with the person or persons that are creating the hostile environment.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Right. And that's why, remember, we never had a reunion. We never had a reunion for that season. That's because they had the investigation. The investigations found that certain things happen. And then you cannot force people to be around somebody that's creating a hostile environment. Same thing right now. We're hearing the rumors about Kenya's case. Similar there.
So true. I will also say, very good point, Attorney Redwine. As soon as you put the company on notice by contacting HR, the company has to action upon that. Because if they don't, you may have not only a claim, against them for all the other stuff, but for negligence, for continuing to maintain the hostile environment. And I think that's what Megan is dealing with here. Her accuser is saying that the hostile work environment went on for a period of time.
Right.
Also saying he didn't get breaks and he wasn't compensated properly. So he's showing his pattern. But to Attorney Redwine's point, that's why it's so important. The point at which you put your company on notice that this is happening, they have this amount of time to get it together, to action on it, to make sure that they take your claim seriously, or they too can be on the hook legally.
Exactly. All right. So let me ask this, a counselor. So if I understand you correctly, if you are experiencing some type of hostile work environment, number one thing that you need to do is document it. Number two thing that you need to do is you need to make HR aware of it. And number three thing I think you need to do is you need to request an investigation. This will then trigger the organization to shut it down until further investigation. Is this what I'm hearing, attorneys on the platform?
That is correct. And let me say the number one mistake that employees fail to make, that all employees should do if you have a hostile work environment claim, is you need to see a therapist. Here's why. Yes. Many people do not realize that a hostile work environment claim can trigger what's called stress leave. It's covered under workman's compensation. It is no different than if you were working at a warehouse and something fell on your foot and broke your foot, right? We all know you could use workers' comp to be compensated. If your work environment has become so hostile that you can't sleep, you can't eat, you're suffering depression, you're suffering mental health episodes, then the therapist can actually write you a note that literally says you can't come to work, and they still got to pay you. They literally must pay you under the same workers' compensation statute of your state. So that is one way to actually receive reasonable compensation while you are working through that hostile work environment, so that you don't have to get up every day in tears.
Wow. Attorney Brion Ross, anything you want to add to this?
Well, I want to ask a question because the attorneys are very well versed in this law. Do I have to report this to the EEOC also?
You don't have to, but it is certainly an option and it's generally encouraged. I generally tell people before you go to EEOC, go ahead and get a consultation with an employment attorney in your state, because that employment attorney can help you craft your EEOC petition, because that petition is going to, or complaint rather, is going to follow you wherever you go. And you want to make sure that it is written in a way that's going to follow the law.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What is an EEOC complaint and why is it necessary?
The EEOC stands for Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They are state and federally regulated agencies that act as intermediaries, middlemen between the boss and the employee. And when you report any of this, racial, sexual, however have you, to the EEOC does you a huge favor and conducts its own investigation. Conducting its own investigation, it can issue a report. In some states, you're required to report it to the EEOC before you can file a lawsuit to try to get money damages. So an EEOC report's an important step. I just didn't know if you had to do it in this type of environment, such as Megan Thee Stallion's cameraman.
So, all right, Attorney Jourdan, now you work at a huge streaming network or a huge studio. What do you do in those environments when you have so many different projects? You got different projects, different shows that are going on. How do you navigate hostile work environment in those spaces?
So we have our corporate policies, right? Every company, every studio, every production company, they're going to have employment policy. So for all of you out there who may be starting your own company, particularly those in the media space, the content creation space, you want to make sure that those policies are written down. That's very important, right? So you want to make sure there's a code of conduct. There's a standard for how employees are expected to behave amongst each other in the workplace. You also want to define what the workplace is, right? So we make sure that anybody working has our code of conduct. They know what the rules are. Now, back to the point that Attorney Redwine was making, if there's a violation of our code of conduct, we're going to have a discussion with HR, with legal, with whoever was there. We're going to investigate, make sure we have the facts, make sure we have any evidence that anyone wants to be able to send to us to review as part of that investigation. And then we're going to decide, what's the appropriate next course of action. Sometimes it's a sensitivity training. Sometimes it's a suspension. Sometimes it's an outright firing if it's a completely egregious accusation being made. But all in all, I will say a lot of times, and this is the reason why I'm, leaning specifically on the media space, not only because I work in media, but also because I know, I live in LA. A lot of times we think of these networking events and these parties and being on set as not being at work. That is 100% the workplace. When you are on a Zoom with your coworkers, you are in the workplace. So it's very important to be mindful, even when it feels informal, that you still are operating under your company's code of conduct.
All right. That sounds like anybody else want to add anything as relate to Megan Thee Stallion?
Yes. And I want to say, if anyone, I see a lot of people in the comments who have gone through something like this. Somebody said HR is not your friend. You were right. Before you go to HR, you make sure you have every piece of evidence that you need, because chances are they're going to start. The likelihood is, even though it's illegal, you may begin to see forms of retaliation. But most importantly, I want you to know this. A good employment lawyer will not ask you for money up front. They're going to take your claim on contingency fee basis. That means they get paid if they recover for you. Think of Cassie. Cassie's lawyer against Diddy was an employment lawyer that took her case on contingency. So if you find an employment lawyer that's like, oh, I'm going to charge you hourly, run, because they have no incentive to settle and resolve your case.
All right, attorney. Thank you, counselors. This is a good show tonight. All right, everyone. This is the part of the show where we get to all of your questions. Please drop down in the comments section and ask the questions that you would like for me and the attorneys to address. Don't forget to throw those blue hearts in the chat if you heard something out of Attorney Jourdan Williams' mouth that really helped you out. Please don't forget the red wine glasses for Attorney Symone Redwine. And the briefcase is back in business with Attorney Brion Ross. And last but not least, don't forget to throw those fax machines in the chat if you're here learning something that you can apply at your everyday life. All right. Also, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. And we're going to move to that part of the show where we answer your questions. First off, donation. Thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate you. Shamika Clark, thank you for the donation. Funky the Real. All right, The Wiley Show. Thank you so much. Baby L got the last laugh and no TGI. This is so good, The Wiley Show. All right, who else we got? Thank you. Thank you. Billy Littles, thank you. Keep your blessed head held high, King. Thank you so much, Billy. The Wiley Show. I'm so glad I got my LLC for my company, The Wiley Show LLC. Thank you again for more money. Pretty Diva 82. Thank you so much. Our question is, can you address the elephant in the room? Yes, I plan to address the elephant in the room tonight. All right, Jared Williams, happy belated. Thank you for the donation. Woo! Big money, Jared. That comic guy over there. I need to get in that business. Happy belated birthday, Judge Reynolds. I'm happy to show up to court. Y'all all look great tonight. All right, Pretty Diva 82. He's not addressing TGI. That was a ploy. He's answering questions about the topic. Okay, Al is playing. No, I'm not. R. Robertson, Al, you can teach a masterclass on professionalism. Thank you for the donation. Class in dignity. Keep flying high, my brother. Jay Clark, thank you for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. The lovely Lisa. What if the company attorneys, what if the company caused a hostile work environment because of the segment?
Well, if the company caused a work, so whether the company caused it or coworkers cause it, the company is responsible for it. And the company's insurance is what could be used to compensate it. And here's what's most important and why an investigation is so valuable. There are only two results of an investigation. An investigation is going to come back and say, yes, there was a hostile environment and it was caused by these people or these factors, or no, there was not one. Either way, you have now committed them in writing to some conclusion that you can now use with your lawyer to help you get justice.
Wow. Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that. All right, everybody. This is the part of the show where we, the attorneys and the judge, gives our verdict on the cases that landed into the court of public opinion. Before we get to the verdict, I just want to say, everybody, I see all your comments. I've gotten all your DMs. I've gotten all your text messages, and I've gotten all of your emails. And I appreciate all of your support, and I thank you. Unfortunately, we will not be addressing all of that tonight here on this platform, but I will in the future. This is a totally different show, so I can't bring my personal other show information to this platform. Please, though, put on your alert, turn your alert on, because I will be coming and creating an open forum to talk about what's going on. And in that open forum and platform, I will answer questions. We're going to have a segment